For centuries, the most powerful people and organizations have operated in the shadows, their financial dealings all shielded from the public eye. But what if that's all about to change? What if a new technology exists that could drag everything, and I mean everything, into the light? Well, in this explainer, we're diving deep into that hidden world of financial secrecy, and we're going to reveal the tech that's designed to bring it all to an end. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Bitcoin for Money.
So let's get right to the heart of this. We're talking about something called the secret ledger. It's basically a system where huge, powerful institutions, big banks, governments, massive corporations, they get to see everything about us, while their own financial moves stay completely hidden. And this isn't just about privacy, not really. It's about a massive, fundamental imbalance of power.
But that brings up a really fascinating question, right? What if that whole era of secrecy is coming to an end? What if there's a new system that could force a level of transparency on the powerful that has just never, ever been possible before? That's the core idea we're going to unpack today.
Okay, so to really get the cure, you've got to understand the sickness first. So we're going to do a little forensic investigation into how elite financial crime actually works. And we'll use one of the most infamous examples out there, the financial architecture of the Epstein enterprise.
So, how is this secrecy actually built? Well, get this. The Epstein network didn't just use one or two shady accounts. No, it used a mind-boggling 34 different corporate entities. And let's be clear, this wasn't for, business efficiency. No way. This was a maze, a deliberately complex structure built for one reason: concealment.
And the main building block for that maze? The shell company. Its main job isn't to make or sell anything. Its only purpose to be a legal cloak, a way to hide the identity of the real person, the beneficial owner who's actually pulling the strings and controlling the money. It is literally anonymity by design.
Now this is where it gets really clever. Or, really shady. It wasn't just about creating shell companies, it was about where they put them. So after his 2008 conviction, more than half of Epstein's corporate entities were moved to the U.S. Virgin Islands. This is a tactic called jurisdictional arbitrage. It's like shopping around for the weakest referee you can find, deliberately picking locations with the biggest secrecy loopholes to hide from any real oversight.
And this just perfectly illustrates that this is not a one-person job. The whole secret ledger system relies on an entire ecosystem. You need those murky relationships with big banks. You need paper trails that can be conveniently lost or changed. You need a whole network of lawyers and accountants to make it happen. And this is the big one. You need systemic failures at the very institutions that are supposed to be watching the gates.
This all leads to a really profound and honestly kind of scary point. In this world, in the world of the secret ledger, financial records aren't objective truth. They're just artifacts, things that can be created, twisted, or flat out destroyed to tell whatever story the powerful want to tell. The truth is simply whatever they decide to keep.
Okay, so that's the problem. It's deep, it's systemic. But now we pivot. From this mess of a problem, a truly revolutionary solution is emerging. And it's one that doesn't just try to patch the old system, it replaces the very foundation of it. Let's look at how this technology creates a whole new way of thinking about money.
This table, honestly, it captures the entire revolution in one shot. The legacy system is built on trusting institutions, which are run by people who can be flawed or corrupted. Bitcoin says, forget trusting people, let's have mathematical proof. So governance goes from the whims of a few to an unchangeable protocol. The money supply goes from flexible and inflatable to absolutely fixed. Verification goes from private and slow to public and instant. And censorship, it goes from easy to nearly impossible. It flips the whole model on its head.
So what's the engine driving all this? It's the public ledger. The best way to think about it is like a global financial history book that can never be closed or erased. Every single transaction gets written down for the entire world to see, and anyone, literally anyone, can check the math for themselves. This kind of radical transparency is the polar opposite of the secret ledger.
And here's the secret sauce that makes that public history book so powerful. It's a property called immutability. Once a transaction is written into that book, it is set in stone. It cannot be changed, it cannot be deleted, period. This creates a permanent, undeniable history. Remember those financial artifacts we talked about that could be manipulated? Yeah, immutability makes that impossible.
So we've got the sickness and we've got the cure. Now let's see the antidote in action. How do these exact features of the technology directly neutralize the specific tools that financial criminals have relied on for decades?
It really all boils down to this. First, you get total end-to-end visibility. You can trace the money from A to B to C, all the way to its final destination. Second, the records can't be touched. No more lost files or altered spreadsheets. And third, you can literally program accountability into the money itself, using things called smart contracts. Just think of them like a super smart vending machine. They automatically enforce rules and only release the money when specific, verifiable conditions are met. No human needed.
So let's just put it side by side. The problem? Hidden owners buried under a dozen layers of shell companies. The solution? Bam! Radical, unavoidable transparency on a public ledger where every single movement of funds is visible. It's a surprisingly simple but incredibly profound fix.
And the second huge problem? Evidence that could be conveniently lost or altered to fit a certain narrative. The solution, as we've seen, is an immutable and tamper-proof record. When the history book can't be rewritten, the truth becomes permanent. Simple as that.
So what's really happening here is a massive shift in where accountability comes from. We no longer have to rely only on a legal system that can be slow, costly, and, let's face it, influenced by power. Instead, accountability is just enforced by the code itself, a system of rules without rulers that applies the same way to absolutely everyone.
But, a change this big doesn't happen in a bubble. It creates a whole new battlefield, a real ideological struggle for what the future of money itself is going to look like.
And we're seeing two very, very different paths emerge. On one side, you have Bitcoin, a neutral, open network that no single person or government controls. On the other side, you have central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Now, they might use some similar tech, but philosophically, they are the exact opposite. They are centralized, they are programmable, and they are censorable, all controlled by the state. This is the secret ledger, upgraded for the digital age.
And this really gets to the core of the risk, doesn't it? History has shown us, time and time again, that any system of centralized control will eventually be used against people who disagree with the powerful or who just become unpopular. Financial censorship isn't some theoretical what-if. It is an absolute inevitability of centralized power.
So, where does all this leave us? Well, we could be standing at the dawn of a new era. The potential end of the secret ledger isn't about destroying privacy for everyday people. It's about enforcing transparency on the powerful. It's the beginning of a system that's based on verifiable truth, not trust.
And that's the question I really want to leave you with. If the flow of money becomes transparent, if those secret ledgers are finally thrown wide open for everyone to see, where does power actually lie? Does it stay with the old institutions, or does it shift to the network, to the protocol, and ultimately back to the individual?
Feel free to subscribe for more educational Bitcoin content. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so in the description.